Welcome back to the Whatnots Reactor Core number 70. This is our reaction to Miss Marvel episode 2. I'm super excited to jump into this one. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson.
Hello.
Melissa, how's it going?
It's good. I'm going to go see a musical outside. It's 100 degrees.
Sounds like it'll be a nice and cool night then.
Eventually it will be. Eventually the sun goes down.
Yeah.
It helps.
You have to bring a fan and lots of ice. Stay hydrated.
They have fans there. They've got giant fans, giant fan towers in the audience.
There you go. Good stuff. Melissa, let's dive right in. Miss Marvel episode 2. What did you think?
This was very fun. I'm liking the pacing that this story is setting.
Good stuff. Yeah, I agree. I think they are killing it. I think this is fantastic. I think I would still put Loki as maybe my favorite of the MCU stuff, but that's also kind of like selfish and personal of me, of like me personally. I like those kinds of stories and the kinds of like deep big brain lore that's happening for the MCU as a whole. But this, like we mentioned last week, is something entirely different. Its own completely recognizable visual style that I think is brilliant. And this is shaping up to be something that I think is awesome. Like there's a few nitpick things that I can do, but just like, man, this is so good. Like I just like, holy cow, how? This is amazing.
It's such solid work. It's really charming. I love the we don't know as much about the superhero, superpower fantasy element of it yet. We've seen it, but we don't get it. It hasn't been explained to us yet. But I love how much explanation we're getting for Kamala's immediate community. I loved the rundown of every different social subgroup at the Eid Festival.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Yeah, like you mentioned, I think the pacing in this show is great. I feel like for a show that's so low stakes, at least so far, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel inconsequential. Like it feels like I am invested in the show, in the characters, and what they're doing, even if it might not make a bigger impact on the MCU, right? It's still just fun to see them and watch them do their thing. You both laugh and cry for Bruno, aka Brian, in the show. Right, you're sitting there like, man, she's just like, she doesn't see you in that same light, but you're just like, man, that sucks. Like he is trying his best to give everything he can to help out Kamala, and the stuff that Nakia is doing is
I like that.
It's an interesting storyline. Again, I don't know if it's gonna really have a big major impact on this show or the MCU as a whole, but I'm invested. Like I want to see what happens with this. Will she make it onto the board of her mosque? Because that would be neat to see. But yeah, this show is fantastic. I am loving it. So good.
Yeah. It's got a lot of variety in it. I like that we do have this subplot about Nakia running for the mosque board. It's something, I mean, it's archetypically classic. This is one of the activities, one of the subplots in a teen coming of age story. But going back to the first trailers for the show, I realized I've seen prayer in mosques in like TV and movies before, but I think it's always been with a male group. I have not seen females praying in a mosque before. I literally haven't. This is the first time. And I like this. This is part of the community as much as like we're spending more time here than we are at the high school. And I like that.
Yep. Indeed. So you mentioned the like different groups within the community here. Here in number 2, we see this party, and there's all these different social groups that they have to kind of reach out to and talk to help Nakia to campaign for her position. And talk to me about that. What did you like?
I like that she approaches Kamala's dad and he's like, but the guy running against you is my best friend. Like it is such a high school response of, I can't go against my best friend. Like the best friend wouldn't accept that this man is like rooting for his daughter's best friend. Like,
right,
no,
yeah.
I would love to see a younger female voice on the board. I love that you're never too old to be worried about what your friends think of you. It's very small, but I like that. I like the inclusion that is an element of your life that might never go away. Like that is timeless. That is something every generation can relate to.
Sure. What about the Illumin aunties?
I dig that very much.
I thought that was great.
I love that each of these groups has a custom logo. Like this is a scene very much like that scene in Mean Girls with all the different cliques in the cafeteria, but they didn't have logos.
Yeah, they stepped it up in Miss Marvel here. Indeed. Yeah, I thought that was really funny. Kamala goes to them to try and find out a little bit more about her grandmother in this one. But we see Kamala start to explore her powers a bit in this one. And I have to say, the training montage, which was super short, was great because she's still a high schooler. She can barely do a push up or two. It's not the like Sam Wilson training to be Captain America thing. She's sitting there like, oh, I should have paid attention in gym more. I thought it was great.
I love a training montage, and especially a self-directed training montage where like you've got powers, you're figuring them out on your own. Nobody's making you do this. You just know that you should do this for the good of yourself and the people you're going to try and help with your powers.
Yep. I do have to say the like green screen CGI when she's on that roof there was a little shoddy in my opinion. But it worked. It was totally fine.
Next week, you're not going to remember that shot was there.
I mean, not really, but it's still just like it's interesting because I think when the She-Hulk trailer dropped, we were like, oh, well, She-Hulk doesn't really look all that great, but then there were its defenders that were like, well, hey, like you're used to seeing a human in real life, whereas like Ghost Rider from that movie and all that stuff, like that looks so good to you because you don't see a flaming skull riding a motorcycle out in real life, right? And so it is these.
We haven't yet.
Sure, yeah. Who knows? Tomorrow's a new day.
This is the vibe shift. We're all vibe shifting to Ghost Rider,
right? But like it is these more human moments that I think do stick out in this CGI. Like I even like Moon Knight's costume when he was in the full on costume there and he was moving around and jumping over the things and all that stuff. I was just like, I don't like it. It looks slightly rubbery. But that's just one of my nitpicks because, at the end of the day, like that one small scene really doesn't detract from how much fun that I had watching this here. So it was good. It was good. Cameron, talk to me about it's Kamran, right? That's how you say his name?
Kamran. I believe so, yes. He was up until the very last minute of the episode, which we've yet to see how that plays out, he was surprisingly nice. I was expecting this to be the like distant, unapproachable hottie that Kamala is pursuing throughout the season. Yeah. And the fact that he does notice her, take an interest in her, have things in common with her, genuinely like her and try to help her was a surprise to me. And I thought maybe this is a diversion from the standard plot. Maybe she does end up with this guy and has a heart-to-heart with Bruno with like, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. And he's like, You know what? I'm still happy to have you as my friend. I'm happy we're in each other's lives. I accept this. I want to go to Caltech and find the right person for me. Like, that would also be a valuable story. And yeah, now you're left wondering how much of his interest in her is genuine. It seemed, I don't think he's like lying and conniving. I don't think he's putting on an act, but he's hiding things. I imagine he's like, oh, let me go out of my way to like bring this girl into the circle. But I think he does genuinely like her on some level, even if it's not the level to which she likes him. This isn't going to be like the guy in Frozen who's like, if only somebody loved you.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It was especially the scene when he gives her his phone number after he drives them all home from the party that got busted by the cops after he did a triple flip into the pool with no splash at all. 10 out of 10, right? Like when he gives her the number, like that is the like, wait, why? Like, why her? Kamala is the more normal, like nobody, not in a like sad mopey way, but in the like, hey, I'm not the most popular. I may not be the most attractive, but I have my group, and that's it. And I think in a more typical show, or what we most like, is maybe Nakia would have been the one, because she was also fawning over him, just being like, oh my god, like he's gorgeous.
She's so stylish that I imagine she would stick out to you first ahead of Kamala.
Yeah. So when he gave her his number, that stood out to me of like, okay, interesting that he's going for her. But he was just like, all right, like she's not unattractive. Like she is. Again, can't be started 69 with this. I'm not even gonna go there. But like you know what I'm getting at. It's like I can see it. Like, it's not something that I'm just like, ooh, no, why? What is up? He's obviously
explain plot hole. He didn't go for the prettiest girl there. I demand an answer.
But it was definitely something I noticed. And then he is flirting with her. He has his hand on her hand when they're like hiding behind the menu there and all that stuff. And then we get the interesting discovery here at the end of this show, as Kamala is kind of investigating into her own family history, as we're starting to see parallels of her like the family stories of like, they followed the stars to get back to all of their family in the midst of all of that. She keeps having visions of this person. And I think we kind of it's safe to assume that that's her grandmother.
Her great grandmother.
Sure. Yeah. And then we meet that character, and she is in the back of Bruno's car. We'll get to how all that.
Kamran's car.
Sure. Yeah. Kamran's car. It should be Bruno. She's in the back of Kamran's car, and is this like, it's this kind of revelatory moment for us, for all of us, as just like, hey, this is Kamran's mother. And she has this like, wait, what is going on here face? And we have this, wait, what the fuck is going on here face? Isn't that supposed to be her great grandmother? Wouldn't that make him her great uncle?
People are spending a lot of time on this.
It's just, it's a weird like Star Wars moment when you find out that Luke and Leia are brother and sister, right? And you're just like, oh wait, they kissed. Huh. Well, interesting.
I don't think they are blood related. That is a weird, very specific thing.
Yes.
It's a weird, very specific thing to throw into this very classic archetypical coming of age story. It's not like, oh, you've got all the classic tropes. The prom. And I have 2 dates on the same day. That's my cousin. Like, that's not one of those classic tropes. I don't think it belongs here. I imagine it is like, perhaps he's a Skrull and she's another Skrull who like adopted him because there's only so many Skrulls in the world, and Skrulls got to watch out for each other and take other Skrulls into their family units. You know, maybe I think he said mom, and maybe it's mom in a sort of affectionate way, like how all the aunties
This
aren't
is the
literally
woman that
everybody's
raised me,
aunties. Yeah.
It's the I might not be your father, but I am your daddy. Kind of is that the right way? Is that what he said? And not be
He may be your father, boy, but he ain't your daddy.
Exactly. Yeah, it might be that kind of thing.
I also liked the theory that this woman is a Skrull who was friends or companions with Kamala's great grandmother. That like she's the Talos to her her eye patch man, Nick Fury. Why did I blank out on his name? I'm 12 years deep into this. Even for 2 seconds, how did I forget his name? That they are partners, that they are counterparts, that they work together in some fashion. And so he's related to the woman who pretends to be her great grandmother, but isn't.
Personally, I don't see her as a Skrull, but I see what you're getting at. I say that because she is appearing in these visions, and it seems to be like a benevolent, like hand reaching out, like let me make contact, all that stuff. I'm wondering if it is maybe like this is a sister to great grandmother, and maybe was the rightful heir to this bangle to get these powers, or she never like really fully had them like manifest, and so like somehow maybe has access to these like this vision plane. I don't know, I don't like that word, but this like purple plane, right? Just like somehow she can connect through a vision and is reaching out that way. Like I'm wondering if this is more a like, hey, we want that bangle, like we're here to steal this thing here. But I don't know, because also that character in the credits is named Najma, I believe is the name, which is a different name from what everyone was calling her great grandmother, right?
I think they said Aisha, maybe?
Right. So I don't know if this is like first name, last name situation, if this is an Earth name, Cree name. Is this just a new identity that she took to get away from this family? They mentioned the whole partition thing as the British left India. Maybe she took on a new identity to keep her family safe. Who knows what? But it is just that, like I legitimately had a like, what moment, like when she said like that's my mom, I was like, no, what? How? So I've enjoyed this one a lot.
Yeah, this episode got us a little farther than I thought we would be at the end of episode 2. Even if it is, I think, is this one a 6-episode run?
Correct. Yeah.
I think we talked about this last week. I already forgot. Even if we are a third of the way through the story, the fact that we are already meeting an elder of significance, that more information is going to be revealed to Kamala, that she's already made it so far with this guy she has a crush on, regardless of the actual situation that they're in. The fact that she had a crush on a guy and is like in his car by the end of the episode is more advancement than I thought we'd have.
Yeah. And it feels like inappropriate Act 1, right?
Yes.
We've been introduced to Kamala well enough that I think we know her and her personality. We see all the supporting cast. Like I feel like we've been rooted well into her life, that they can now move on to Act 2, which might go into who Najma is or what the DODC is after exactly, and what Cleary wants to do with this, and why Daver seems a little bit bloodthirsty, for lack of better terms here. Um, yeah, like it feels like it's paced extremely well, whereas some of these shows, I think maybe we got too hyped at the start and then got let down, or kind of slowly wound up to nothing. But again, this also has a lot lower stakes so far that I don't feel like we're gearing up to, like, is this how they explain how the multiverse shatters? Like, what? It's just like, we get to meet Kamala. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and we also know specifically the next time we will see her, and it's only like a year from now. So like, it's, if there's stuff left unanswered, I think we would all feel pretty okay with that, because we know what her future is more clearly, perhaps than with other characters that have had these shows.
It definitely feels like they can tell a smaller stake story, knowing that she'll then be in a movie soon and can have a bigger, like, so you're a Kree now, or so you're an Inhuman now, right? Like, here we go. Here's the cosmic stuff that you've been wanting, right?
I appreciate the Captain America hands on the hips.
Right, yeah. Yeah, something else that I want to give a shout out to in this one that I really, really liked is that this one had a really subtle way of bringing up some very heavy topics. Not in a way that felt preachy, or that they were trying to, like, hey, this show is going to start diving into a lot of this, but like presented in a way that it was matter of fact of just like, hey, this is how the world is, unfortunately. And then it continued to tell its story, and it felt very real. And I liked that from the way that Dever was acting, about just how kind of aggressive she was there. And then when Cleary was like, all right, like, let's do the tri-state sweep. Let's look at all the community centers, all the mosques. And he hesitated to say mosque. Like, you can tell that he had there was like, this could potentially turn out bad, and I don't necessarily want to do this, but I think we've narrowed it down to someone in one of these communities. And then he stops Dever to be like, hey, we know the FBI is already looking at them. We need to be careful. We need to be respectful, like all of that stuff. And it just seemed like he was the one that was more like, hey, let's be cautious. Whereas Dever was maybe more of the, like, the remnant of a post 9/11 America, like, yeah, let's look at let's go, like, this South Asian community, Indian, are they Muslim? Okay.
I really wasn't able to get a handle on that scene. I wasn't sure how much was sincere and how much was them sort of putting on an act for Zoe. I wondered if maybe they were trying to use this approach where let's threaten larger groups and make this girl feel bad. And maybe she will give up. If she knows who this is, maybe she will tell us if we act like we're just going to profile these large swatches of people. Maybe she'll say, oh, no, it's this girl. It's this one girl I know, her specifically. Don't, like, investigate several mosques.
It's the hesitation to me that then says maybe it's not, like, maybe at least that bit is not an act. And yeah, maybe them saying it within earshot of her was like, it might be half and half, right? Because it's not one of those things of like, okay, it looks like the show is gonna address 9/11 politics here in America and how that aftermath affected the Muslim community. Like, the show doesn't really seem to be diving into that, but they did have a scene that addressed it in a way that was very matter of fact of like, oh yeah, that makes sense, all of the stuff that they said here and the way they're handling that. I think the way Kamala and Nakia also bring up in the mosque that, hey, there is this physical divider between us and you, and we can't really pay attention. Like there's girls back here on Snapchat, on Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we can't, like we feel separated. We feel like a lower class citizen just because we're women. And it really feels like the show has some commentary on that, not in a way that, again, they're not being preachy. The show's not really diving into it, but they do use that saying that, hey, change is her, right? They have that on the graffiti in the credits. They mention it when Nakia is considering running for the board. Like they're addressing these things without it becoming the main part of the show, which is really interesting. To me, it feels normal. It feels real. It feels like, yes, that's how it actually happens in real life. And it's not some kind of, well, let's make this the centerpiece of the show because I feel weird when I say it, but like we need to raise awareness on this. Like it feels like that super leftist, like woke, right? Like it's not that, because that has a layer of healing not necessarily genuine in certain media.
It's not like the dad brings up
all that stuff too.
Happen, right? It's not like the dad brings up the partition and then everybody at the table gets very quiet and serious to tell you that this is very serious.
Exactly, right? I think even just the way that, like, when Kamala's nose started to glow, which I thought was hilarious. It was like, oh, it's like some Pinocchio syndrome when she starts to daydream about her nose starts glowing. It's hilarious. But then Nakia's response is to go in there and give her a tampon, and it is this like, hey, I'm here for you, like I'll help you out, even though I might not know what it is. Here's a tampon just in case. I know your mom.
I like that she's like, I have pads too. You have options.
Yes. Yeah, that and the fact of just like, hey, I know your mom is a little bit weird about this whole thing here. Just to see an interaction like that is just like cool. They're not really making a big deal out of it. They're moving on immediately after. It wasn't brushed under the rug, but it felt real. Like that's the word that I just keep going back to, and I like. That's something that I think this show is doing really well. That it just has these little small moments that is just like, I've seen that moment, or I've had it happen to me, or I know someone it happened to, or it just comes up in conversation, right? So, bravo to this show.
It's great
so far
that the show can touch on very heavy subjects and also touch on what if you put ice cream on top of pizza.
Great. I loved it. I'm all about it.
It's so silly, but I love their reactions. Like, pizza ice cream, is that one thing or two things?
I was thinking the same thing, and then she said it. And she's like, is that one food or two?
And the shot of the guy in the crowd going so clearly, pizza ice cream! It's not like a distant background shout. It's so front and center.
It's the guy that works the food truck. He's like,
which I didn't realize
gold,
immediately.
Jerry Gold.
But I love that. I love that now that it's this guy's plan is like, I've got the halal meats. I've got pizza ice cream. I didn't have pizza or ice cream before, probably. Now I have them both.
It's the thing that'll give him the edge against the halal guys. He can finally beat them out.
And I love that Kamala's like, well, just think about going home and making a plate of this stuff. I love that that's also a question. How is pizza ice cream served?
Do you fold it? Is it like an ice cream? Is it like a Choco Taco? But it's like,
oh my God.
It's a calzone.
The folded up New York pizza, but ice cream in the middle. I
right?
gotta know this kid's like flavor profiles. What's he
Right.
working with?
Exactly. Speaking of that, did you notice that the kid that she saved was the one that stole Nakia's shoes?
I didn't know.
I missed that completely when when I was watching the show, and then I watched the Kind of Funny review, and
Oh,
they questioned it. They were like, it seemed like he had on some fancy shoes. We weren't sure. He was also up in that tower, like doing all the Instagram stuff. Like he seems like the kind of person that would recognize the Versace shoes and take them. Right, just for the likes, just to be like, check out my new shoes. Like God, what's his name from Hawkeye? Who's like, check out my new costume, right? They probably follow one another. Let's be honest.
that'd be nice.
Or at least the younger guy follows him, because what is he gonna be following a high schooler, right? I then watched the new Rockstars one, and they confirm it that you can see him in the shoes that he stole, the ones that Nakia put up in the thing there. He stole them. Which is an interesting Easter egg in that. I liked that a lot. That was a nice touch there.
Yeah, I like that is something that like looped around within the same episode. I didn't think her missing shoes were going to come back. I thought that was just one of the blocks to her wanting to run for the mosque directory.
22 pairs of shoes stolen, and I think we found the culprit. They said there has now been 22 pairs of shoes stolen.
Wow.
From the mosque there.
Maybe this is another very small community crime that Kamala can stop. Like with
hustle, yeah.
Or like whoever took her bike in the previous episode, where they're like, oh, you left your bike out in Jersey City? That's gone. No longer. Miss Marvel is here. Nobody's bikes or shoes are getting taken anymore.
Yep, exactly. No more cats getting stuck in trees. No more halal guys coming over with, you can't have your food truck here. She's a defender of food trucks and bikes and sneakers everywhere. But mainly in Jersey City.
Yeah.
There you go. Last things you want to shout out?
Her brother's fiance was very nice. I liked getting to meet her. Nice. I imagine the wedding might be one of the events in the last couple episodes. I look forward to that.
Hopefully. I did like how when the brother caught Kamala there, that he eventually went along with the lie, whether it was a bit and he was just like, this is just too ridiculous not to go on with it, or if it was like to like save face in front of like his fiance or to his family, to go back and not be like, who is this guy again? Like, I don't know, just the fact that he went along with it, I was like, yeah, fantastic. I like him. He's great. He's good. So but that is our reactions to Miss Marvel episode 2. Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities.
You guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter. And if you guys would like to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at The Whatnots, we are at The Whatnots on Twitter. So please go like, share, and subscribe. That would help us out a bunch. Stay tuned, because next week is also the finale of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I think Ignacio and myself will be doing our part 2 reactions to that. So be on the lookout for that as well next week. But with that, we will see you all next week for episode 3 of Miss Marvel. Until then, bye.
Bye.